I got this bag of bagel chips. Crack that open. But it's like you're paying for a stale bagel. Why? Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees put a sloppy June behind them. We'll kind of look how they close out the month, which was kind of a sloppy way. But, of course, we'll look at that pivotal Toronto series there where the Yankees split the series. But there was some big moments there. Of course, you had the Stroman blow-up against Gleyber and Juan Soto with a big home run, which not say saved the season, but was quite pivotal, so we'll kind of look back at that. And, of course, Aaron Judge, though, doesn't skip a beat. We'll speculate if he can even eclipse the season he had in 2022. And last but not least, I guess mentioning Toronto, is it possible like Vlad Guerrero Jr. could be a New York Yankee possibly soon? So we'll kind of look at all those speculation, kind of look at, again, that Toronto series there. I think it was very important for the Yankees. So a lot of good stuff for you, but make sure before we start here, you have the audio podcast version of the show. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, go to Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, subscribe there as well. And if you're watching right now on YouTube, whether it's your first time or a millionth time, you should be subscribed already, but if not, you can do it right now. And if you're watching on TV, again, there's two versions here. You got the audio podcast, which is updated much more frequently. So I know you like to see me, but you want to hear me more often and get my takes on stuff and other stuff a little outside this, the Yankee season, Yankee history, some stories I might share. Make sure you're a podcast subscriber. So Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. And then, of course, you have to go on YouTube as well. Search Section 420 Talkin Yankees there. Subscribe. Get all of it. So May was very kind for the Yankees. Everything was riding high for them. They were in first place. Everything was good. And even the month of June really got off to a good start. But then we saw by the middle of the month and towards the end there, it kind of seemed like really the wheels really came off for the New York Yankees. And, of course, it all got started in that trip to Fenway against the Red Sox, which at that time they were either a fourth or fifth place team there. You figure you go in there, you should at a minimum, win 2 out of 3 there. But nevertheless, they take the first game there, win like 8-1, great. But the next 2 games, they get knocked around a little bit. Mainly the Yankee bullpen got beat up a little bit. So you're like, okay, fine, there's this little blip the screen like there. And then they come home, of course, then against the Baltimore Orioles. Okay, Nestor gets them off to a good start. But then you have 2, kind of disappointing games in a row. Okay, great, you got Cole back, and he was able to give the Yankees a fighting chance. But again, the Yankee bullpen faltered again, and the Yankees end up losing in extra innings. And, of course, the Yankees absolutely get destroyed then in that third game. Baltimore puts up like 17 runs. Then you kind of figure, all right, whatever, you put that behind you. And then the Atlanta Braves come to town. Yankees lose 2 out of 3 there. And you're kind of like, oh, something's going on here. It's not good. But you figure, you know what? You could put that all aside. We got 2 games against the Mets at Citi Field there. We're the big brother. We're the Yankees. Yeah, it's in their ballpark in Queens. But we got Cole and Luis Gil on the mound there. Probably you would say they're probably the Yankees' 2 best starters, even though Cole's is coming back a little bit. And in the first game, Cole gets absolutely trashed. We covered this in the last episode because of 4 home runs. Can't even strike out 1 batter there. Now, the Yankees made the game a little bit close with the Aaron Judge grand slam, but nevertheless, that was a laugh. The Yankees actually just got blown out. And the second game was even worse with Luis Gil. Again, he got smacked around in only a couple of innings there. So you have something you haven't seen so far for the Yankees team. During that stretch, we see Luis Gil just get rocked 2 games in a row there. Again, once against the Baltimore and once against the Mets. And the final score was like 13-3 or something. Again, the Yankees got absolutely embarrassed there. And now you're really starting to panic a little bit because, again, we're just seeing things we're used to seeing with this Yankee team. Mainly the starting pitching was just absolutely horrendous. And also as well as Carlos Rodon just getting rocked for 3 games in a row. And it's not like, he's battling into a little bit and like, all right, it just came apart for him in the 5th or 6th inning. This is a situation with Rodon where he's just getting his doors blown off in the 1st or 2nd inning. They're not even getting a chance there. So again, you have 3 of the main Yankee starters there kind of faltering a little bit and again not throwing much innings there. So a little time to panic. And Nestor Cortez was kind of steady Eddie there a little bit. I know he lost the Toronto game. He just didn't get run support there. But then you look at that Toronto series there and the Yankees is lucky to get the split there just to end the month of June with, and they end the month with a record of 14-13, which you look at it and say, well, it's not really terrible, but if you look how the Yankees started the month, which was very good, and then from mid-month down there, just completely, not just you lose games, but the way you lose games, and a lot of these games with just Yankees was getting absolutely blown out, not a shot there, and that's when you start seeing fans panicking a little bit, you see some of the frustrations on the team, we'll kind of get into the whole situation with Stroman a little bit, but mainly, I'll say the most troubling, though, was with Rodon, with his 3 horrible starts. Now, for a combined, gave up 20 earned runs, and that was included, and also serving up 5 home runs there in there. So the Yankees kind of have to, get him back in the line again. He had a good start to the season. I don't I don't say Rendon's reverting back to his 2023 ways, but he has kind of fun again because, again, the starts he has there, by the first or second inning, before you even blink, the Yankees are down like 7-0 like that. And again, the Yankees is lucky to get that final split there in Toronto now, where Garrett Cole finally came up with a good big start, and when they needed him the most, and gave you a Cole-like performance. Again, he's not fully stretched out yet, but gave you 5 innings. Only 1 run there, had the velocity, 6 strikeouts, and only 1 walk, and looked like a completely different Garrett Cole than we saw in Citi Field there, where, again, he claimed that he dialed down the velocity. I don't know, maybe he was experimenting some stuff with off-speed stuff. He kind of figured, yeah, I mean, he is kind of still working his way back. He, even though he's, pitching now up on the majors, he is technically kind of rehabbing in the spring training mode a little bit. So, yeah, you're going to say maybe he's experimenting with velocity a little bit. Do I let it go a little bit? Do I hold back? That's kind of what I do in there. And, again, the Mets took him deep for a time in a ballpark. It's not exactly a hitter-friendly park there, but nevertheless, good to see Cole come back. And again, this is why we have Garrett Cole. This is why I have the ace, because when things almost looked like they were falling apart for the Yankees, he was come up, give him a strong start now. And of course, it doesn't hurt also in the first inning of that final Toronto game, Aaron Judge with a 2-run home run. And he comes completely, hasn't skipped a beat at all. So even if the Yankees have been struggling a little bit with the pitching and maybe some of the offense, Aaron Judge, again, hasn't skipped a beat there. And we'll get into him a little later in the episode there. But Cole and Judge coming through for the Yankees. But again, that's why you have an ace like Garrett Cole. That's why you pay him a ton of money for moments like that where you get his right to ship. Because again, you're only as good as your next day starter there. And Cole kind of finally got the final win. And the Yankees really want to put June behind them because it was a real sloppy mess there the second half of the month there. And hopefully they can have a better July. So as I mentioned, they ended the month of June with that final series there up in Toronto. It was a 4-game set, and the Yankees split 2-2 there. But it was really the second game, I think, we'll look back, wherever this team ends up at the end of the year, if they do anything of significant, like a World Series win, I think we'll look back at the second game of that series as probably one of the most important parts, pivotal points of this entire season, mainly for 2 reasons. Of course, that was the game where Marcus Stroman blew up on the mound a little bit towards Gleyber Torres, and of course, he had a huge clutch. Again, I'm not going to say season-saving, because again, the Yankees, they were tied at the time, pretty much neck and neck with the Baltimore Orioles in first place there. So I don't say like save their season. It's very early, but in a kind of way, it kind of did, because again, the Yankees were going through a real bad stretch for almost like 2.5, 3 weeks. And again, Soto hitting a huge home run to turn a 3-1 deficit into a 4-3 lead there. But first, we'll get to the Stroman situation. So you may recall, again, it was a bases loaded. A little slow dribbler to Volpe at shortstop. He flips it to Gleyber Torres. Gleyber throws it to first. And unfortunately, since it was such a slow ground ball and as well not maybe the strongest throws in the world, Vlad Guerrero was safe at first. The run scores. Stroman's pissed off there. And then again, Stroman, basically, he didn't fully cover his mouth, but basically told Gleyber to throw the effing ball. Which, now, first of all, I examined the whole thing. I mean, I looked at the replay a whole bunch of times, see what is he mad at? I mean, Gleyber got the flip to him. He did throw the ball. Now, was it maybe, could he put maybe a little bit more mustard on the throw? Perhaps, but it's not like he sat there with the ball and did nothing with it. I mean, he kind of relayed it pretty much as quick as you could. Again, you want to make sure you secure the ball before you throw it off. You don't want to bobble the throw and the ball goes into center field and now two more runs score there. So I think Stroman really overreacted to that. Again, we've seen Gleyber be lazy at points, and we'll get into him a little later as well. But I don't really put that much on Gleyber. I just think that was the play, and I don't know if he could have made a quicker throw than that. I mean, again, it was kind of a bang play there, and I don't think it was a situation of Gleyber being late. Now, maybe Stroman can see things we can't. Mentioned before, maybe he should have been at the bag sooner. I don't know that, but again, according from what I saw, and I tried to watch the replay 12 times just to see what is Stroman so upset about. I don't think Gleyber was wrong there. So I think that was bad on Stroman. And of course, he realized he did something wrong. He went into he went, of course, after the inning, went into the clubhouse. He probably broke a chair and cursed like crazy. But nevertheless, when he came back into the dugout, when the cameras are looking at him, he's obviously had a word with the judge about it. He spoke to Gleyber about it. And even later in the game, maybe lit a fire on the Gleyber. Gleyber actually hit a home run in that game as well. Just get off the Schneider himself there. But again, I just thought Stroman really overreacted in that situation. I don't think it was Gleyber being lazy. We've seen Gleyber be lazy in other situations. So yeah, maybe other times he deserved to be yelled at. I don't think he deserved it there. And again, we kind of had the warning label at Stroman when we signed him in the offseason. Again, he called it authentic swagger. Remember that, the whole thing? He's fired up. We've seen him yell at other players. We've seen him get into fights with fans on X and Twitter and stuff, all that stuff. So again, he kind of has this tag with him. Now I think so far, up to this point, I think he's been a good Yankee citizen. I know some fans, some traditionalists don't love the do-rag thing, but whatever, that's that those times have gone. And as soon as CC came out and AJ Burnett came out rocking the tattoos, those days were over there. So as the guy's a little gimmick with him and Wells there when they're both battery mates there, also wearing the do-rag. So whatever, it's kind of become a thing. Stroman, I think, has been really great for the Yankees up to this point. So I don't get any complaints from him overall. But yeah, I think he was out of line a little bit. Not just because you don't do that normally, but I don't think that was a situation where Gleyber was being lazy there. So you want to yell at Gleyber all the time, fine. I don't think that was the point there. And he knew he was wrong. And of course, we saw the captain come over and have a few words with him as well. You knew he was going to do that. And we've seen this with the Yankees before and Yankee captains. You may recall back in the 90s, I think when they first got David Wells, it was either 97 or 98. There was a situation in Baltimore where there was like a fly ball to left field. And I think it might have been Ricky Leday. He misplayed it. He was a rookie at the time. The ball dropped in. And so Wells put his hands up like, come on, what are you doing, dude? And of course, Jeter came over to Wells. Even though, Wells was the veteran, Jeter's still relatively maybe a first or second year player. And Jeter tell him, hey, look, we don't do that here. There. So this is kind of a similar situation. Now they went to Boone. They said, what, is there any problem with them too? Boone said, no, it's fine. He said, the clubhouse, we're so close, all that stuff is that, these things just get mended right away. It's not a big deal. And I don't think it would there. I mean, Stroman's a fiery guy. We know that. Gleyber's kind of a quiet guy. Gleyber doesn't have much of attitude. Yeah, I'm sure it burned him a little bit in the back of his mind, but I don't think something was going to linger between the two of them. And of course, when Gleyber did hit the home run, when he came trot around the bases there, Stroman was the first person to greet him. So again, it was just a thing. And Stroman is struggling a little bit in that spot there. The Yankees down 3-1, which kind of brings you to what I would say a pivotal moment with 2 runners on. Juan Soto hitting a 3-run home run. Again, this is that time when the Yankees are really looking dead, having a terrible stretch there, got blown out 2 games there at Citi Field, got destroyed in the first game there in Toronto, and everyone's going, what's going on with this team? They're down 3-1 there. Again, everything's looking bleak, and I think Juan Soto there in that spot, again, I'm not going to say he saved the season. They were like tied for first place, stuff like that, but it was kind of a big moment, like he needed to spark the team up there. So he hits a 3-run home run to turn a 1-3 deficit to a 4-3 lead, and then from there, the Yankee offense absolutely took off, maybe took from his cue there. They would go off to score 16 runs in that game there, and you figured it was coming at some point because the offense had been struggling for a while a little bit, and they made Toronto pay in that second game there. Everyone got involved with, even our good friend DJ LeMahieu finally got his first extra base hit of the season. So when he's doing extra base hits there, the offense is taking off there. Now, it wasn't a home run, so don't get greedy. It was a double, but still, even he got involved in the matter there. And I think that game was just so important for so many reasons. The whole Stroman thing seemed to fire them up a little bit, and maybe because maybe this is how the team reacted. Maybe they felt bad for Gleyber a little bit because he kind of got showed up a little bit, and maybe this has jacked everybody up. And again, as I mentioned before, they would end up scoring 16 runs there. But again, we knew this about Stroman, but this is like the first Stroman blow up we've had. He's been a solid citizen so far, but now we see, we've seen him do these antics in the past with other things. Some people may like it, some people don't. Now, from reading what other fans were saying about it, they actually liked it. They felt it did fire the team up a little bit, and they kind of needed it. They feel like maybe Boone's too relaxed. We know what Boone is. Maybe he might take people, behind closed doors, stuff like that. But we've never seen Boone like bowl out a player in front of people. We've seen that plenty with Girardi. We've seen Girardi pull Robinson Cano. We've seen Girardi yell at Gary Sanchez. We've seen Girardi really call out Aroldis Chapman. Remember that point where they tried to bring the trainer out? That's the time he didn't cover home plate there and scream at him in front of everybody in the ballpark. And again, that's part of the reason they didn't like Girardi. He kind of got pushed out a little bit. Boone's the opposite of that, but maybe he's too much of that. And you need someone like Stroman to kind of, knock some sense into these people, and it seemed to work. Now, did it work long term? No, because the very next game, they lost like 9-3 there, so it didn't really, carry over, and Cole was able to get the final game there. But I think that moment was just important for 2 reasons, but mainly that Juan Soto home run. Again, at least at this point of the season right now, you might say it might have been probably the most important home run of the season just for that moment. You could make the argument, too. Remember, he hit that one in the finale against the San Francisco Giants. That was the 9th inning one with the Yankees down 4-5. Hits a 2-run home run in the 9th inning off their closer to swing that to a 6-5 Yankee lead, and they actually end up stealing that final game and get the sweep. So maybe that was the bigger home run. Possibly you can make the case there, but I think this was more important there, especially, again, if this team does something big in October there. You're going to look back at this moment as one of the big moments there. So, you check through the calendar, see wins, losses, stuff like that. But, again, that second game against Toronto, again, very important part of this Yankee season. And I think, obviously, from there, if they could go on a little run after this, you're going to point back to that moment. Now, in the previous episode here on YouTube, I kind of got on Gleyber's case, did a whole segment on him, bashing him mainly because that, not because the whole season's really been kind of bad for him, but of course, that first game against the Mets there, we saw, two instances of him. Number one, when they brought the infield in to cut off a run, they got a ground ball right to him. I know it was a hot shot, but still a makeable play. Let it go by him, let a run score there. Bad moment for him. And then, of course, later in the game, after the Judge grand slam, hitting a ground ball, but kind of nonchalanting at the first base and got easily thrown out. Again, was not hustling at all. Now, he attributed at least the not hustling one to the groin injury. Of course, during the final game of the Baltimore series, had to be taken out with the groin injury. Again, they did a MRI on it, turned out to be negative, but you figure it's balking on him a little bit, so I kind of understand that. But from that, the bad play, and this overall just having a miserable, again, start to the season so far, at least we're halfway there. Aaron Boone had to have a talk with him in the clubhouse a little bit, and they actually ended up sitting him down for 2 games. They kind of put him in the bad boy corner there. But it did seem to pay off, and also maybe the Stroman balking at him might have also helped him as well. Now, he mentioned that he took the 2 days to kind of work on a swing, and, there's a lot of pressure on him, of course. He's been failing. I'm sure he's hearing it. He's in a contract year. I mean, he stated he wants to stay with the Yankees, but again, if he plays like this and stuff, I can't see anywhere they will, and I don't think he'll be a Yankee after the season, but nevertheless, I'm sure it's all weighing on his mind, all of this stuff. But again, it looks like at least the 2 days off did help him a little bit, as well as maybe Stroman balking at him, because since after the 2 games they benched him, he has gone, at least up to this point, the start of July, 6 for 13, so it's just about almost hitting 500. He's a little under 500 there, and with 1 home run there. So, the bat's been coming alive a little bit, and it's been hits, not just home runs there. So maybe Gleyber's turning the corner a little bit. Again, this is a very small sample size there, but a good stretch for him. And, they kind of do need him because the lineup is, the top is very top heavy. You like Volpe, you love Soto, you love Judge, and then, you figure there in the cleanup, whether it's Verdugo or whenever Stanton does come back there. So the first 4 or 5 hitters for the Yankees pretty solid, but the bottom half of that lineup sometimes could get a little flat there. And if you have someone like Gleyber Torres to get hot a little bit and be a bit of a thumper, now you're stretching off the lineup where like the first 6 outs are really tough, and maybe the last 3 are kind of easier for a pitcher to navigate. Because the way it is right now, it's top 4 heavy, but after that, it's kind of like eh. So if Gleyber could get hot a little bit, it'll just help out the rest of the lineup. And also in the previous episode, I kind of mentioned how the Yankees kind of tweaking the bullpen there, and I like to keep my promises. I mentioned that probably 2 weeks from now, either 1 or 2 of those guys will be gone. Well, halfway kept my promise. One of them's gone already, and that would be Phil Bickford. Now he was called up from AAA. He was the former Met, but one of those Toronto one of those Toronto games, again, the Toronto series got very affected a lot of different players, let's put it that way. One of the games, he got absolutely rocked in 1/3 of an inning, gave up 4 hits and 5 runs, and right after that, sent down DFA'd to make room for Josh Madrujowski, the left-hander. Again, you remember him. Now, again, it could be just because he got rocked that game, but also, the left, maybe they want to bring up a lefty in the bullpen, just maybe for some upcoming series and matchups, and it could be that as well. I mean, it's kind of harsh to get rid of a guy just after kind of 1 bad outing, but nevertheless, I promise you, both of them are gone. Well, at least one of them is gone there, so kind of halfway kept that promise there. And another a call-up, you may recall, Jake Cousins. We got into him a little bit at the start of the season. The Yankees got him from the White Sox. He was also called up, and they sent down Gomez. Again, Gomez was being used for long relief. Again, in AAA, he's a starter, so I think they want to put him back there to get his starts in AAA, just keep stretching out his arm there. But Jake Cousins up here as well. Again, this is all a merry-go-round, so by the next episode, maybe Jake Cousins is the next one to get DFA'd. But whatever Yankees struggles they do have, one problem, or at least one problem they don't have, is Aaron Judge, who, again, hasn't skipped a beat at all there. And if you just look at his numbers right now, possibly on his way to not only surpassing his 62 home runs that he did in 2022, but we might be looking at a Triple Crown winner here, and we'll get into the stats here. Now, we did give you some of the All-Star voting not too long ago, at least up to the point where Judge officially voted as an All-Star, which was a no-brainer. I mean, he was the leading vote getter. Again, you shouldn't be surprised there. I just thought Ohtani will, just because Ohtani's kind of this celebrity/baseball player, but even Judge having a better season than Ohtani right now. But when I look at Judge's number entering July, this is now entering July, hitting .316, which is insane. Remember how he started the season, just how awful that April was. He was getting booed. You're not sure if he's the same guy anymore. You're looking at the contract. Oh my God, we got this guy for another 9 years. Is this how it's going to be now? Not that I thought it was going to happen, or is he hurt, something wrong there. But the way he's done this to this point without really even having an April is amazing. Imagine if he had a good April as well. I mean, his numbers would just be off the charts. But nevertheless, hitting .316 batting average, 31 home runs, 82 RBIs, and an OPS of 1.144. I mean, most players don't have an OPS under 1. This guy's over 1, which is just amazing for this point. Now, again, I mentioned before, is he on his way for a Triple Crown? Maybe now. very early in the season, only the halfway point. But hey, you may want to start looking at that. This is what, where's he leading in the important category? So right now, if you want to look at batting average, he's only third in the league, so he's right up there. So again, he has a shot to improve his batting average, and it does seem like he's steadily increasing that every week. But he's leading the majors right now, first with home runs, with the 31 home runs. And I think if things stay the way they are, I don't see why not. Him finishing the season leading the majors in home runs, and right now first in the majors also in RBIs. So if he could just get the batting average up and keep that consistent there, you possibly might looking at a Triple Crown winner. Again, the last one for the Yankees was Mickey Mantle back in 1956. Again, you got the highest batting average, home run, and RBIs there. So Judge well on his way. Again, I think he can improve his batting average there, so it's not totally out of reach. And if you look at the RBIs, it's not like he's neck and neck with someone. I mean, he's kind of close, but it's the second place person is Jose Ramirez, and he's 6 RBIs behind. Again, it's not neck and neck. I mean, it's son of a lead. Again, that could change a little quickly there like that. But again, it's not like Judge is like only 1 RBI ahead of somebody. I mean, he's kind of ahead by 6 there. So it's somewhat significant there for Judge. And if you want to compare to the season he had now compared to 2022, well, at the end of June in 2022, he had 29 home runs. Right now, the end of June this year, he has 31. So, and both 80 games played, I think he equaled the amount of home runs, 30 there. So he's definitely just still on pace of what he did there in 2022, and very, very good possibility he could get past the 62 home runs. And if you want to look at the Yankee lineup this year versus 2022, that 2022 Yankee lineup wasn't that good at all. I mean, it kind of gets drowned out a little bit that Judge has had such a great season, but the rest of the offense was not good at all, and Judge still put up those numbers. This season, this offense is much better. I'm not saying it's the greatest offense ever, but he's got Volpe in front of him, who's a much better leadoff hitter than back in 22 when they had like DJ and Gleyber leading off there. So he's got more guys ahead of him. And of course, we know Mr. Juan Soto also hitting in front of Judge. And of course, we know Juan Soto, he's a hit and walk machine. He's an on-base percentage machine. So when you have those guys in front of you for Judge, that just creates more opportunities where he's probably going to be able to hit more home runs because he's got the pitcher now dealing with some runners on bags, worrying about Volpe stealing, stuff like that. I mean, it does make a big impact. And just look at the final Toronto game. Soto gets on, Judge hits a 2-run home run. We've seen a ton of that this season there. So I think Judge now has a better offense to operate with, and even the hitters behind him, whether it's Verdugo or whenever Stanton gets back, Judge will have a little bit more protection in the lineup than he did in 2022. Again, the 2022 version of Stanton wasn't that good either. So we got a better version of Stanton this year once he gets back from the hamstring injury. That could protect Judge in the lineup there. So I think Judge can have a better lineup to deal with than he did in 2022. So very well, I think he's going to definitely get close to that 60, and I think he has a really good chance of getting past 62, maybe ends up at 63 or 64. And as for the Triple Crown, if anything, he might lose with batting average a little bit, just the way it is. But right now, if you ask me though, it's not totally impossible there. So we'll see what Aaron Judge is doing. But again, as long as he stays healthy and doesn't run into walls here, I think he's definitely going to touch 60-something home runs. Now, of course, first base, a bit of a problem for the Yankees. I mean, of course, Anthony Rizzo, out for a while with the fractured arm. But of course, even before that, was not hitting well for the Yankees, really, and has not been the same player since he had that concussion a year ago. And again, he's still making him like $20 million, so you can't exactly tell him just to sit home like that for that amount of money. But nevertheless, it's a position you need production from. Now, Ben Rice so far has been doing okay. But yeah, and he's just kind of a rookie 25-year-old call-up. I don't think he's someone you lean on. Again, he's been all right. Again, I like what he's been doing at the plate there. Very disciplined at the strike zone. But again, if you have an opportunity to upgrade there, I think you should definitely look at it. And of course, when the Yankees visited Toronto, we might have to call this the Toronto episode. Just everything that involved the Toronto here. They were speculating would Vlad Guerrero Jr. be an option for the Yankees for first base, and I mean I think it would be a perfect marriage. Now we have to look back at some of his comments. Before again he's been kind of a bit of aggressive towards the Yankees, a couple of years ago, saying he would never play for them. And we've seen some, go back and forth between these organizations, the whole situation with Manoah and Garrett Cole. We've seen Guerrero hit some home runs and kind of do the bat flip and kind of really, really showboating on there. So you could tell these two organizations did not like each other for a while there. And of course, he famously said he would never play for the Yankees there. So everyone was saying, well, why even kind of consider him? But then now it seems like more recently he did an interview with an outlet called Verizon Deportivo, if I pronounce it that, where he kind of backtracked a little bit to say that if the opportunity presented itself, he would consider playing for the Yankees. And supposedly that's after him having discussions with his father, the Hall of Famer Vlad Guerrero Sr., as well as friends and family. They probably say, hey, someone slapped him in the head. It's the New York Yankees. They could give you a boatload of money, and they kind of have a thing about winning championships, maybe you would want to leave that door open there. So, and people also speculating, of course, during that series, looked like he chopped his hair a little bit to more the Yankee standard. So people are saying, oh, is he trying to send the Yankee signal, stuff like that. So I'll kind of just get into this whole thing. Number one, when he did make those comments there, I kind of take it a little lightly because remember at the time, it was around 2 or 3 years ago, Toronto was kind of putting something together there. You got a young core there that were looking good, and it looked like they were going to be maybe one of the top dogs there in the AL East, competing with the Yankees, competing with the Rays, competing now with you see what the Baltimore Orioles are doing there. So look, I don't blame him having a little pride. You want to fire up your team a little bit, you want to stick it to your rival a little bit there, and you want to throw some words across. So I didn't really take anything bad about it. I don't take it. There's ways to do it, ways not to do it. But again, him just trash talking a little bit and say, "Oh, I'll never play for them," and like that stuff. I didn't pay that much mind there. I just think it's him just sort of like feeling pride about his team and kind of he's a sort of like their leader and stuff like that. And so if you want to throw some firebombs at it, some verbal firebombs at a team like that, I didn't put too much stock in it there. So, and I don't think the Yankees would as well there. Even the past, we mentioned this past offseason when the Yankees signed Stroman. Stroman had some words about the Yankees. I think Brian Cashman a couple years when they were considering trading for Stroman, kind of saying like, I'm still in the majors and some of the guys that you chose over me, they're not even in baseball anymore there. So I think, it's okay to make a comment. I think, bigger heads will prevail. So, Cashman had no problem signing Stroman after he made those comments. I don't think Cashman had any problem at all making a move for Guerrero if the situation presents itself. So I kind of put the comments all out there. Now, you want to look at the practicality of it. Look, who we want Vlad Guerrero Jr. compared to what we have right now at first base. So far right now, he's hitting 286, 10 home runs, 35 RBIs. He's only 25 years old, and he's on a terrible Toronto team right now. So what Toronto was trying to do a couple years ago, it just seemed like that whole thing fell flat. And you're seeing right now, pretty much looks like there's going to be a fire sale there where they're going to unload everybody and try again. Again, they're kind of struggling well under 500. They're in 5th place. They're 16 games back right now at this point, and they got like no shot really of coming back in the season there. And it's kind of back-to-back kind of lousy seasons for the Blue Jays there. Now, the only caveat is that Guerrero Jr. is signed through 2025, so I guess their GM Ross Atkins, he said it would make no sense to deal him, which kind of makes sense there. He's under contract for yet another year there, so you don't have to trade him. And of course, if you do trade him, you're gonna have to give a boatload for him because you're getting him for yet another year at a reasonable price. And especially if you're an AL East rival there, obviously they're gonna want to fleece the Yankees as much as possible. So I don't see any situation where they could make a move for Guerrero Jr. this season, so I don't think it would happen. But again, I would take him. I think Brian Cashman would take him if the opportunity presented itself. But again, since the fact that he's under contract this season and next season, I just don't think the Yankees would just have to give up such a boatload to get him where I just don't think it's worth it. And plus, again, you're going to have Rizzo come back at some point. Maybe figures it out a little bit. You're paying him $20 million, so they're going to give him another shot just to see, all right, can you really turn it on at this point? Because, again, you do need production at first base there. Guerrero would be nice, but, again, I just don't think they'll be able to make that move. Now, you may look in the past that, in terms of the Guerrero name, George Steinbrenner, before unfortunately kind of passed away years ago, he actually wanted the father, Guerrero Sr., back in 2004 there, but there was concerns about his back, so that's why ultimately they went with Gary Sheffield, which, you could debate whether that was a good choice now, but probably was. Sheffield gave the Yankees a couple of good seasons there before, unfortunately, he got hurt with the wrist injury in 2006 there. But it's not the first time that, the Yankee organization has been looking at a Guerrero. So that's the episode. Hopefully the Yankees can brush a bit of a sloppy June off there, have a much productive July, even though the weather's probably going to get hotter. Hopefully it heats up with the bats there. But of course the main concern got to be the starting pitcher. Mainly, I guess, number one A is Carlos Rendon. Again, with 3 lousy starts in a row there, so he has to get corrected. And of course I think the second major problem will be Luis Gil, having 2 clunkers in a row where up to this point he's been absolutely fabulous. Still a leading vote getter for Rookie of the Year and very most likely will be part of the All-Star team there. But if he has 1 more 2 clunkers, maybe it doesn't, but those 2's got to get themselves righted. And I think Cole's fine. He just needs to get himself stretched out a little bit more. And I think that Citi Field start was a little blip on the screen there. And of course, it's Mr. Aaron Judge. As long as he stays healthy, we don't know what the back of the baseball card is going to look like, but it's going to be rather awesome.